So, I don't even know what episode this is. Episode 6, maybe? I don't even know, man. All right, GMG Live. Episode 6 with my guy, Ricky. Chopping up for a little bit, just life, the body, and all that things that come with it. So, jump right into it. Adaptive energy and overtraining. There's that whole idea of like stimulation versus annihilation. So, you want to aim at stimulating reps, but not annihilative reps that'll kind of hurt you. So, obviously kids are challenged all the time. Like, work hard, be the hardest worker, that whole thing. But that's not necessarily the best case all the time. So in terms of not overtraining, I'm curious, I just want to hear your thoughts on the danger of overtraining and then that concept of like adaptive energy within stresses and that kind of thing.
I think that most should know you can overstimulate the CNS to the point where the athlete ends up with an injury, with something that they can't eliminate, and they're gonna have to fight the whole entire season. What I've been exposed to and what I've learned is that, you have to be okay with taking a rest day. It's more mental than physical. Now, if you get that mental component down, then you don't have to worry about the physical component because I'm guaranteeing that you'll be prepared. So basically, stimulate the CNS enough, the central nervous system enough, to the point where you understand that kid or that player has experienced, the stress. And at that point, you have to explain it to them so they understand that, okay, today doesn't mean that I took a day off, I'm still working, I'll get back to it tomorrow and I'll be just as strong.
100%. And there's an underappreciated value of training the mind, body, and soul. Everybody's so excited to train the body, but they neglect the two things that actually engage. Like your brain is the body mover, and they don't understand that. So, cool. So then, for those that are kind of on that context, there's a lot of guys that go through really heavy training regimes. Like I like to do the vertical training thing. That's your neck of the woods too. So. Guys come out of it and then they're so excited they're all up on the rim when they're done because they got the results they wanted, but then all of a sudden their knees start bugging them off and that whole jumper's knee life comes in there. So I guess I'm curious, what do you have to tell athletes that are dealing with that patella tendon apathy? If there's anything you could recommend or just like talk about that topic in general?
Well, I would say that you've learned how to create the force. At that point, whether it's overuse or not, maybe you haven't learned how to ground the force or take it upon landing. So at that point, I think you have to work in some recovery. You have to go get into a chamber, maybe stim, maybe cryotherapy. There's a hyperbaric chamber out here now. And I've been in it. There's one here in town.
Cool.
That is basically stimulating recovery, and guys are getting returned to play super fast. But I would say for an athlete that's already experiencing that, slow it down a little bit, and you have to spend more time to take care of your body.
Yeah, no, I got you. Cool. So transitioning a little bit, there's a great new study out there in the power of just strength training in general. So we got hundreds of athletes went through the study for several years, and it was just that concept of injury prevention. So they had said of all these guys, like 67%, there was a decrease in injuries due to just sheer strength training. And then obviously that term you and I kind of bounced around a little bit, that proprioceptive aspect of things was now at 50-something%. So they play a major role. And then what shocked the world due to all this old YouTube science is that static stretching quite literally has 0.00% role in anything injury prevention. It's not going to help you. The analogy I've been bugging people with is like if I want to cook a steak and I want to warm it up, I don't pull it, I warm it up, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I guess I want your 2 cents on how you can kind of make the worlds of strength and proprioception combine and how that plays a role in injury prevention in general.
Well, I would never say just do away with the static stretching. You've talked about that, but there's a time and place for everything. So the dynamic portion comes into play, the vertical core portion comes into play before play, or before practice, or before you're gonna do, that thing that's gonna go ahead and just push you through the roof. But static stretching comes into play on the day of recovery or a day before, maybe a couple hours before. And I'm not saying you can't do it right before the game, but just be strategic. You don't want the guys just laying all over the floor and do this, that. The dynamic portion is what's gonna do the job. You got all these reaches and these jumps and these guys are dynamic. Let them be dynamic. Let the body get used to what it's about to go through.
Good time. Yeah. No, I feel that. So then And yeah, I gotta make clear to people that I've been posting to. It's not that I hate static stretching. We've been over this. There's a time and a place. Rolling out, there's a time and a place.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
believe in it, just not to put you in a relaxative state before you're trying to lift through the roof or jump through the roof. So anyway, gotta get that out of the way. So then, yeah, with strength and proprioception, that concept of proprioception will put your brain on the floor. And trying to be strong. I guess what role does strength training play in injury prevention first, and then let's talk about proprioception after.
So you can never be strong enough. You know, matter of fact, I don't know if we'll ever reach our strongest point in life, but we can get near it. But you can never be strong enough, and that's going to ultimately help you avoid injury. Once again, there's a time and a place. Just talking to you earlier, when I want my guys lifting as heavy as possible in the off season. In that little 6 weeks, we're gonna stress that CNS. Look for a response, taper it back down, out of that cycle, and we'll see great results. We'll see verticals going up, and we'll see things. In the meantime, while doing that, we teach them how to land properly. We teach them, we have deload days and where their body responds, well to that, and then it goes back up the next day. So does that answer?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, no, I got you. So then, to add proprioception to that mix, again, the term, for those that are unaware with it, it's your ability to put the brain on the floor, per se, right? Like eliminating layers so that your nervous system's actually feeling the tension on the floor. And what I tell guys too is my legs might be able to create 800 pounds of force, but if my feet don't know how to transfer that energy into the floor, it's leaking somewhere. I got a hole in the hose somewhere. So I guess for you guys as well, and people that you work with, how does proprioception, and that I know you're a big toe, barefoot guy, you want to kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start with this, and someone taught me this, and I learned the hard way. Is there a such thing as muscle memory? And I said, yeah. But this guy was a real science buff. He said, no, it's all neuromuscular. Without the brain, nothing fires off.
Big time.
So if you take that, you take heat with that, you understand that getting your guys barefoot, getting them to walk, getting them to actually get to ground zero helps the body respond better, helps recovery. I would like to say, putting stress in different areas, different planes of motion helps the guy, helps the kid, helps the lady. Because they're so dynamic. They're dribbling the ball, they're running the football, they're planning, they're cutting, they're doing all this. You would be, in essence, wrong not to expose their body to that. And that's what I hang my hat on. I love to, get a guy on a dyna disc, or get them in a balanced position where they're uncomfortable, or even when they're comfortable, just exposing. Once again, we're always back to that central nervous system, exposing it to, a new plane of motion.
Yeah, big time. So then, I guess staying in the realm of strength, there's a lot of people that say there's a point where you're too strong. Like you kind of said, how you can't necessarily ever reach that point where it's like my body can't genetically apply any more force than it's been made to do. But I also know that there's guys out there that just think the stronger they get, the better they'll be at their sport. And I would say yes and no, but I know you got something in your head that you want to kind of relate that to as well.
There comes a time for compromise, time for understanding. Like if I was training you and, at this point you're, 24, 25, I'm not really looking to make you lift the heaviest weight in the world. What I'm looking at is just teach you how to stimulate, how to maintain applied force, So, no, you don't have to lift the heaviest in the world, but what you do, you have to learn how to apply force, whether that's unilaterally, which is super great for you, or bilaterally, so.
Yeah, big time. And that's where we kind of discussed that further too before we had done this, but that's one of my favorite. I was just listening to it on the way here, like one of my favorite in that, like, explanations of it is you may be able to squat 600 pounds, but at the same time, if your body only has so much currency to adapt to the stress you're putting it under, where's the remaining currency left to actually adapt and translate to the sport in which you're trying to get better at, right? So I'm with you on that. So now there's some words that my guy Ricky here uses, and phrases that he kind of talks about, whether it be loading the gun, the power of water, the power of sleep, the bubble, all those things. So I'm gonna hit water first. Let's talk about just your thought on how important water is as a fluid for athletes in general.
Man, it's so important. And we look at TV and we see our favorite athletes down in Gatorade or down in, and
chocolate milk.
Chocolate, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But keep it basic. Once again, the basics are gonna always free you. Water is essential. You know, we're put on this earth to take the water in. So why would you go away from water? I'm not saying don't use any sports drinks. I mean, I'm a very high advocate of body armor and the coconut water and the properties. But watch your sugar intake. I would just leave it at that. I mean, you can look at the back of the bottle and you can say sugar, you know, watch it, you know. So I also made a post recently, and you know, kind of committed me on that. But there's studies out there, man. Depth perception goes away as you get dehydrated. You know, you wake up, you haven't hydrated, you look at something, it's kind of blurry. You know, think about shooting that ball, or thinking about attacking the rim and, you know, missing that dunk short. You know, it's proofs in the pudding.
Big time, especially as the game's range is increasing, that room for error as a shooter being dehydrated gets just smaller and smaller and smaller. So big time. So now to bounce off of Waters, you said waking up and seeing stuff. I guess the power of sleep within adapting to stress and self-organizing. I guess let me hear your 2 cents on that too.
So and tying it both together, water and sleep, you know, injury prevention. You know, you want the muscle to be able to respond, right? You don't want to fatigue muscle. We're already fatiguing it in a sport, so we don't want to, you know, get a double-edged sword. But sleep, you know, 8 to 10, and I know that is hard. I do not get 8 to 10 every night. I mean, I would hope that if I was, you know, a high-level athlete, I'd be getting 8 to 10, maybe more. But you know, it's counterproductive not to sleep. I mean, that is the non-negotiable point of recovery. You know, without all else, you know, sleep, the most important thing. You know, and not to get too crazy sciencey about it, but you know, if you're, you know, lacking sleep, you should definitely readjust your thought process and knock out. You know,
absolutely, and that's where the concept of self-organization, where your body during sleep is now responding to stress because it doesn't have to respond to the stresses on the external side of the body. So it's like now your brain's in its office, it's shuffling, it's doing its thing, but the longer you give your body time to assess the stress that's been put on it, to adapt, the longer time your body has, because as soon as you wake up, as simple as, again, seeing things and feeling your feet on the floor, your brain's got to react to every motion, right? So you're taken away from its ability to self-organize, or you're in a state of just coma. Like, I'm just slumped. So I feel you there.
Funny thing, man. No cuddling, you know, because you're basically using energy when you sleep. Try to stay on your back, maybe supine, you know. Pillows under your calves or under your knees. If you sleep on your side, you know, put a pillow in between your arms. That way, because you don't, once again, you're not trying to play 2 to 3 sports. You know, some of us move a lot when we sleep. So try to isolate yourself when you sleep. That way you're gonna completely shut it down. Everything's dark, you know, cut all your lights off. I mean, some of you may have an Alexa. Try to dim her. You know, I don't know, but you know,
too.
So try to get the most, you know, try to go into a slumber, man. Shut it down.
I like that. Funny story. I remember the first time I went to China. I met a guy named Tola. Shout out to Tola. And he, I walked in on him sleeping one time because we were sharing a room, and he had like a wall. Like he was like in he had walls of pillars. He was supine, straight up. And I remember I asked him, and he was like, "Dog, what do you tell me what this is like? This that can't be comfortable." He said, very reasonable. It's like, I don't got a whole lot of time to sleep, so when I do, I need my body to just sleep. Like, I'm not moving, I'm not wasting energy. And so I'm with that. And then last thing, you touched on this idea of expanding your bubble. Hit that on the head a little bit too in terms of what that means.
Man, and this is all thoracic spine driven, you know, the T-spine. I want a guy to be able to reach, you know, without, you know, using too much effort, you know, opening up that spine, expanding your bubble. Expanding your bubble can basically be you taking down a gallon of water today, or you making a step in the right direction to get in the gym. But, you know, science-wise, applied-wise, I mean, I would want to train you in 3 different planes of motion, you know, frontal, sagittal, transverse. You know, transverse is a drop step, frontal, side to side, sagittal, back and forth. You know, do the things you do as an athlete to a higher level, you know. You know, I love the Core X. I posted on my page. I mean, it allows you to block it in.
What you're talking about.
Core is the whole body. I'm reaching in different places. I mean, I'm able to get a rebound. I'm able to run full speed, reach back, grab it, take it up, dunk it. You know, I mean, it's relative, man.
No, I'm with that. And what's cool about the Core X is it applies enough resistance that your body needs to react to it, but not so much that it's limiting your bubble in terms of still letting you that constraints-led approach where there's still something in terms of motion. And so I like that. Anyway, to finish it up, this is one thing I do with everybody called rapid fire. You and I both know. I don't know what I'm gonna ask you. I don't know what you're gonna say. So it is what it is. All right. Something will happen. And it could be short, could be long. But my first question, which I have asked everybody, and the answers remain semi-similar. I'm just gonna ask you straight up, spirit animal off the top of your head.
Gorilla.
Gorilla, okay, I feel that.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that's good. That's new. Everybody's like lion, wolf,
Yeah.
gorilla. I like that. Okay. Oh man, favorite cereal.
Ooh, man. Frosted Flakes.
For
man.
real?
Yeah,
Okay.
bro, cold.
I got you.
cold.
So cereal before the milk, or milk before cereal?
Cereal before the milk.
Good. I hope so. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Good. Best rapper of all time.
That is super tough.
Or give me there could be like a honorable mention if you're like stuck on a few.
You know what? I'm gonna just go out with it. Best rapper of all time to me, and deceased, is got to be Tupac. So real.
Raw.
So yeah, man.
Yeah, raw. And it's all, you can't not into every song that comes on. Just like it's just like okay, good. I appreciate that. Okay, let's go favorite Hooper of all time. I actually bet.
Ooh. Let me see, man. I'm gonna really go out here, and I know it's not an older guy. I would have to say TJ Ford.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, that's
Why?
like he.
Elaborate on that for me. TJ's
man.
nice. Just elaborate on that for me.
I was so little coming out of school, and of course I looked up to MJ and Magic. I love those guys.
Everybody, yeah.
But I looked at who I could resonate with. TJ was so little. I know someone who was connected with him, and I used to ask him questions about him, how he went back then, because I was little, like Zeph, I was little.
Yeah, I got you.
And so, his hard work, attitude, acting like he's the biggest man in the room, even though he's not. And seeing him, triumph through everything. I mean, we played similar, I would think. Changing speeds, getting in the paint, getting everybody involved.
That's cool.
Man.
Cool. All right. I asked one man this, and you and I both disagreed on his opinion. So I'm gonna ask you too, so you can maybe put some light on a true answer. The most overrated Hooper of all time.
Oh my God.
It's tough because you're gonna hurt feelings. I'm not even mad because somebody told me LeBron. I'm like,
Eddie Curry.
Oh, for real? You think so?
Yeah. Well, I say that because he didn't get a chance to show what he could actually do, because I think he was battling other things. He had to figure it out. But I would just say, because we didn't get to see him play, but I would say, he had so much hype. In my opinion, I hope Eddie ain't watching. Eddie, please, I love you, bro. But I would say Eddie Curry. I mean, I could get deeper with that. I mean, there's a lot of guys, but injuries and things prevent people.
Cool. No, I got you. That's where that's such a tough question.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's names. It's like hard to throw out there. Okay, then that's most underrated or most overrated. How about most underrated of all time?
Oh man.
Least appreciated Hooper of all time.
I'm gonna go more modern.
Yeah.
Andre Iguodala.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Especially his time in Philly.
Yeah.
Like, he was one of the most underrated athletes. I remember some of the nonsense he would pull in the break.
Yeah.
What?
I have one more honorable mention. Jonathan Bender.
Really?
Brad, yeah, he was a 7-foot guy on the wing, could do it all. He just, he was, got hurt, but.
And that's like Brandon Roy. There's so many Grant Hill. There's so many dudes out there that are like so underappreciated.
I'm asleep right now.
Yeah, no, I got you. I'm with you. All right, last question. I think of a good one. Is there like one quote that you heard in your life that kind of stuck with you? It's like something that you kind of resonate with, that's kind of been over your head.
You know what? I got it tattooed on me in a time of life where I didn't really know what it meant. I just thought it was cool to get it tattooed.
Yeah, cool.
But now where I'm at 31, tough times never last, but tough people do.
I like that.
And it's crazy because
I like that.
tough people just do.
100%.
Yeah, man.
100%. Hey, well, I appreciate your time.
Man, love, bro.
I love it. 100%. Good job. Hey, there it is.
That's lit.